They painted her face. Audio version. Short story by George and Linda B. Thankful to be alive, Eva thought. I raged against the odds, but I prevailed for some purpose. She thoroughly understood her history and present status. Eva's parents struggled to protect her from the normal course of events that befell such a child. Her clubbed foot made her life tenuous. Most children born with such deformities were placed on a hill and allowed to die. Her parents refused to do so and thus were initially treated as near outcasts. Even now Eva, in her late teens and the uncontested leader of her clan, felt the residual burden of the past. How everything evolved was hard to explain. She didn't try because her duties made it almost impossible to worry about the past. No one challenged Eva's position in the tribe. Though not a tyrant, she did not have friends. The chief never did because of the necessity to maintain absolute neutrality. Life and death decisions came with the territory, and perceived favoritism in exercising such authority would quickly lead to disaster. Her required decisions unfortunately contributed to the death of her parents. Several cycles passed. A great drought resulted in the tribe's relocation, and the weak and injured clansmen were left behind to fend for themselves, including Eva's parents. Though Eva did not have evidence her parents died, she felt it was an almost absolute certainty they had perished. If still alive, Eva knew her parents would have joined the clan at the Boneyard long before now. It was possible that one of the few friendly clans might have wandered through and found those they had to leave behind. This possibility, however, was remote because the migrating clans were probably in the same or a worse situation than Eva's people had been. These clans occasionally camped together, and sometimes men and women would marry one or another and leave with or join with the visiting tribe. Thus, extended families existed across these groups. Before the famine, Eva's parents were the healers and her mother the midwife of the tribe. Thus, the clan allowed a certain amount of latitude to them regarding her protection as she grew up. As Eva matured through early childhood, the tribe had experienced many seasons of plenty, so food resources and minor accommodations regarding her handicap were readily tolerated. She seldom played with the other children because her foot made such normal activities difficult. However, when it was discovered Eva had talents and capabilities no one else had, everyone forgot about her deformity. Her intuition was well developed even as a small child. She would correctly warn her people that weather conditions were about to change and precautions should be made. She guided the hunters where game was more abundant and gave them advice on how to position themselves to be most successful. Hunting parties would often carry her with them on their backs. On these adventures Eva was her happiest. Growing up with Credo, her pet saber cat, by her side, she learned from everyone. Her mother instructed her and she assisted in childbirth. Her father taught her the healing skills and how to identify herbs and prepare treatments and set bones and other life-saving techniques. She learned how to make weapons and perfected her ability to make and use the sling. Despite Eva's small size and stature, she became the most accurate and deadly of all the clansmen, and further taught Credo how to assist in the hunt by driving game toward a trap. Between them they developed a language. She used hand signals and he responded with grunts and other vocalizations. Eva's love for the clan grew, and in return the clan's love and respect for her increased daily. Her reputation for helping the tribe was without question. Because of her intelligence and wisdom, she was sought to adjudicate minor disagreements. Her ability to solve even complex situations was a continual surprise. The clan leader had looked upon her parents and Eva with disdain and mistrust. He had eventually become very hateful and abusive towards them, though they were the most beneficial members of the clan. Eva sensed the jealousy and hatred the clan chief had toward her and her parents. This came to a head when her father was searching for medicinal herbs and found the den of a saber cat. Within it he found the mother and 3 kids. The mother was dead, as were 2 of her 3 offspring. Eva's father took the juvenile with him. He brought it back to the camp and Eva latched on to the small fur ball immediately. She worked tirelessly to keep the animal alive. She named him Credo. The clan chief wanted the young animal removed from the camp and eliminated. He confronted Eva's parents and demanded they comply with his wishes. In an extremely rare event, her father refused, and the clan members united together to defy the chief's desire. Everyone felt the young animal would eventually get lost, die of natural causes or have a lethal accident. However, he thrived though blind in one eye. Credo slowly became the camp mascot along with Eva, and the tribal leader became politically diminished as a result. This low-level warfare with the tribal leader continued throughout Eva's childhood and only ended with the death of the chief. The dead clan leader was the son of the previous chief, and it was expected that his son would succeed him upon his death. The tribal leader's son was inept and incompetent. He was the least capable hunter and provider in the clan, and he made himself an enemy to all within the tribe. He used his position to get his way even when it was not warranted. The only thing the chief's son was good at was being a bully and a thief. In fact, he had been partly responsible for the death of his father. As fate would have it, the leader was badly injured in an accident on a hunting trip. He was attacked by a bull elk and had multiple injuries. His son's cowardice contributed to or even caused his injuries, and the rest of the hunting party was aware of the son's role in his father's injuries. On return, Eva's father did all he could to save the chief's life, but the injuries were too severe. He died within a few days. After the mourning period, a new leader was to be named. The selection was done by a group of the 5 oldest members of the clan. Within the group were 2 women and 3 men. At sunrise, the chief's son stood in front of the camp with the common fire separating him from the rest of the people. He stood there anticipating having his face painted by the eldest member of the tribe. Everyone in the clan, young and old, were there. Looking over the fire at the assembled people, the man stood by himself with his back straight and his head high. The old man took the red ochre in his leather pouch and was to paint a red line under the eyes and across the bridge of the nose of the new chief. Then he was to paint 6 red blotches under the line, 3 on each side. The 7th red mark was to be added below the lower lip on the chin. These marks were symbolic of the truths handed down to the elders from their ancestors. They were a reminder to all that the person wearing them was the chosen guardian and voluntary servant to the tribe. The red marks were for wisdom, honesty, devotion, compassion, courage, and honor. The line below the eyes was to enable clear vision, providing neutrality and justice. The mark below the lips was to prevent any words that contained deceit from coming forth. As all were watching, the old man hesitated. He then turned to look behind him at the entire assembled clan, then turned to his left, allowing the other 4 elders to walk forward with someone small behind them. When they were near the common fire, they parted and Eva walked forward with her face painted with the clan leader's markings. The chief's son yelled from the opposite side of the fire. They painted her face. In utter disbelief and outrage, he raised his spear to kill Eva. That was the last sound he made. 3 spears struck him in the chest. He died in his rage. Eva's constant companion, family, and protector was a large saber cat. None of the men in the clan approached, not only because she was the clan leader but because the custom of her people was that anyone with a deformity was not allowed to marry and have children. If this were not true, she would have been courted, married, and probably would have already had at least 1 child. Because of her bond with Credo, and their similar lifespans, the 2 were a matched pair until their death sometime in the future. The clan was now in a golden era. Their numbers had grown from around 60 starving individuals to well over 300 well-fed clansmen. They no longer moved from one location to another chasing game and seasons. They had put down roots near the outskirts of the Boneyard near a landslide or rock pile from which they took their name. The Rock Pile Clan. Eva had befriended a nearby clan, the Boneyard tribe, and the symbiotic relationship between the 2 made their lives equally beneficial. Raven was the leader of the Boneyard clan, and he and Eva often were found together surveying the hunting grounds of their territory. Since their victory over the red-headed giant families, the combined forces of Eva and Raven had not been challenged. With Raven's ability to cover enormous distances, they would camp in one centralized location where Credo would bed down and Raven with Eva on his back would cover 50 miles in one day. Eva did not know when a challenge would occur, but she had recently become apprehensive. This tension was getting more and more intense with each excursion. Eva had heard stories from the elders about the size and strength of mammoths but had never seen one. This was to change today. She and Raven were at the far eastern end of their hunting grounds in an area where large bison and elk herds often grazed in the spring. The two just topped a tall ridge and below them was a massive herd of the giants. As far as she could see the woolly beasts meandered, there were probably over 1,000 of them grazing below. While she was mesmerized by their presence, Eva was calculating the meaning of what she was witnessing. What did this mean to Raven's clan and her peoples? These beasts were pushing over trees and actually altering pools, ponds, and stream courses. The mammoths were bursting through beaver dams and altering the very environment that supported fish, waterfowl and other game animals. If these animals remained in the area, it would take decades to recover from their presence. Just when things were bad, it suddenly got worse. She was so concentrating on the giants' behavior she had not noticed the humans following the herd and the dogs that were with them. Suddenly a spear zoomed past her head and immediately she became aware of the humans and heard the dogs howl. A group of 5 or 6 warriors were rushing her position and several large dogs were in front of the group. Raven reversed his position and Eva almost fell off his back. The 9-foot flightless bird launched his 650 pounds down the ridge in excess of 45 miles an hour. Within seconds the two were in the tree line on the other side of the valley and well out of the reach of the attacking group. From the cover of the trees on the next ridge, Eva and Raven watched the humans and dogs search the area they were just in. One of the dogs was able to pick up the scent, but his master, seeing the direction the trail was going, ordered the dog to cease the chase. There was a brief meeting of the attack party and 2 men with 1 dog started to follow their trail. This was to Eva's liking. The odds were now better. Eva had her sling, bone hatchet, and a bow and arrows. Though she preferred her sling, the bow was a much more lethal weapon at longer distances. If Credo was with them, she would definitely be in the superior tactical position. She and Raven watched as the 2 men closed the distance. They had the dog controlled with a leather lead. This canine became more and more agitated as the scent got stronger. Eva was fascinated by the use of the dog. She had never seen this before. So instead of retreating, she stayed to watch the behavior of the 3 approaching them. To her surprise, the 2 men stopped and then released the dog. He lunged toward their position. Eva instinctively grabbed her sling and launched a stone toward the attacking animal. The dog was struck on his right flank and fell immediately, yelping with pain. She did not intend to kill the animal, wanting only to incapacitate him temporarily. However, the dog did not even try to get up. The men, seeing their animal downed, lifted their spears but had no real idea from where the stone had come or that even a stone had injured or killed their animal. They quickly retreated, leaving the downed dog, assuming it to be dead. After the men had gone, Eva and Raven left the cover of the trees and went to the prostrate canine. The animal was breathing but otherwise unresponsive. It looked to weigh about 80 pounds and could have easily killed her or a small man without much effort. She examined the animal and determined it had a few broken ribs and a badly injured front leg. She tied the animal's legs together and hung it from Raven's leather halter. She fashioned a leather loop and made a makeshift collar she could tighten with the remaining length of a leather strap, a choke collar. The 3 left for the camp to get Credo. On their trip back to the Boneyard, Eva was fascinated about what she had seen. This new human clan had obviously trained canines to hunt and work for them. It also appeared that the humans were following the mammoth herd, but the mammoths were not fleeing from them. She was amazed at their cooperation with the canines and even more fascinated by their interaction with the mammoths. Once they had returned to the rock pile, the dog had gained its consciousness and was in pain but ate and drank. It easily accepted Eva, Credo and Raven as its new pack, which amazed Eva. Never had she seen an animal so easily modify its allegiance to new companions. She named him Limp. It was a good name because he would probably always have a slight limp in his right front leg because of her attack. Both clans were dumbfounded by Limp because up to now all canines were just wolves. The only thing they knew about them was to be afraid of them or kill them. Eva's family now had a new member. Limp warmed up immediately to Eva and even Credo. His sense of smell and ability to track game was phenomenal. He was integrated into the life of the clan smoothly. The mammoths quickly exited along with their human handlers but left their destruction. Many spawning areas for fish and nesting areas for waterfowl were totally devastated. Eva was concerned, but she now had a reprieve at least until they passed through again. Next time she hoped they would be more prepared for their appearance. She wondered if the bison and elk herds could be managed or approached in the same way the mammoths allowed. This was a significant question she wished to answer. Within the camp, now more correctly called a village, was a thriving mecca of activity. The structures housing the tribe were now not just temporary tents of sticks and hides but were combinations of stones and timber with sod roofs. Baskets and pottery were being manufactured. The arrows and bows were being expertly refined. The terror birds were nesting within the confines of the village, especially during hatching season, and the bond between humans and birds was getting more sophisticated. The feathered clansmen were choosing human families to align themselves with. Both species went on every hunting party together. The birds became the transportation and the heavy lifters. The humans used their more efficient weapons and tools to bring the game down, cleaned and butchered the prey, and paid the birds with half of the kill. Both species benefited from the relationships. A form of friendship was being created between man and bird, typified by the one between Eva and Raven. The terror birds paired for life between male and female. Raven's mate, or his queen named Jewel, had been with him for 20 years. The two of them now lived within Eva's compound. Since Raven was 9 feet tall, Eva had an open structure built specifically for Raven and his queen. It had a very high ceiling that dominated the village. Eva's primary duties were maintaining a group of warriors and mounts that guarded the limits of their hunting grounds. Mounted on Raven's back, Eva would spend half of her time out on the security rounds. That is how she encountered the mammoth herders months ago and procured Limp. One of their duties was to keep an eye on the elk and bison herds to protect them from extreme predation, i.e. from wolf packs and hostile human groups. When her security troops appeared, most predators, animal or human, immediately retreated. Occasionally a large human group would try to invade their territory, and it would take a show of force to discourage them. So far there had not been a death or injury on either side of the potential confrontations. This was about to change. To be continued.